I decided to teach for a little while because it's like, how do I spread what I know to help others? And I ended up teaching about the lymphatic system. And I was just as excited as the students because I'm learning this information about the lymphatic system. Like, this is fascinating. How do people not, know this in the real world?
Welcome, everybody, to the Warrior Podcast. Today, we are in a continuation of our health series. I have two special guests on, Nikki Nicklin, who is my massage therapist, and she's going to talk about some amazing stuff, and my good friend, Pradel, and both of us are kind of patients of Nikki, if you want to call it that, and we're going to talk about some pretty interesting stuff. So today, ladies, welcome. What an honor to have you here, finally. You two guys are like lassoing lightning bolt, I'll tell you.
Honored to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Nikki, do a little introduction on your business model, and then we're going to go into Carol's story.
Okay, sounds good. So I know we've already done a podcast talking about what got me here and things like that. So today I specifically want to talk about the lymphatic system. It's such an important system, and most people don't understand how it works and how important it is for the body. And so it started, when I first was a massage therapist, before I even knew anything about the lymphatic system. Every client that I would have would either get the sniffles, they'd have to blow their nose, just get congested.
This is after the massage. Yes.
Or even during the massage,
Okay.
Depending on what they have going on in their body. I would say, great, you're getting a detox, embrace it. We would embrace the sniffles. If they had to blow their nose, even better. And people would tell me they're not getting as sick anymore once they start getting regular massage. And I had started to compare things to, if you don't flush your system, it's like not having a clear flowing creek, but instead that green stagnant water in your body. So I had already known that. But then a couple years ago, I decided to teach for a little while because it's like, how do I spread what I know to help others? And I ended up teaching about the lymphatic system. And I was just as excited as the students because I'm learning this information about the lymphatic system. Like, this is fascinating. How do people not, know this in the real world and things like that? And so once I put together that it wasn't just detoxing, it was actually flushing your lymphatic system, my whole world opened up, especially with testimonies I've had on how important this system is for the body. And so the lymphatic system, they say, is a subsystem of your immune system and a subsystem of your circulatory system. So we think subsystem is not that important. But as far as immune, we have our surface barriers other than the lymphatic system, where if you get it in your nose hair and you sneeze, or if it's in your earwax and you have to get it out, or even throat cilia and stomach acid, hoping to kill the virus or bacteria. But if it enters your body, then that's when the lymphatic system is a key player. The dendritic cells take the virus into the lymph nodes, and it's met with T cells right away that's made in our thymus, which is part of our lymphatic system. And so those T cells, the helper ones, will connect to the virus and bacteria. And if we fought it off before, it calls in the memory cells right away and is like, hey, and it attacks and it fights it off and we're good. If it's never fought it before, then it takes a key of going through the T cells. So it may take a little bit longer to get better, but eventually when you do fight it off, it makes memory cells so it will be able to fight it off in the future. Now, if you don't have a good functioning lymphatic system, it's not even going to be able to get to those nodes or have enough T cells to fight it off. And so that's why people will be sicker than other people they know. On top of that, as far as the circulatory system, so every hour, our circulatory system loses 3% of its fluid. In our body, it is interstitial fluid at that time. The job of the lymphatic system is to take that fluid, cleanse it, and put it back into the circulatory system. Now, if we have a good functioning lymphatic system, 3% isn't a lot on top of all the other functions that the lymphatic system has to do. But most of us don't. It doesn't have to just be swelling that shows a bad lymphatic system. Some people can be very active, healthy. You look at them, they look super fit. If they're tight, their lymphatic system isn't working properly. And so with that circulatory system, so if it starts to get backed up and you can't, get that fluid cleansed, so then you're putting vitamins and minerals and medications in your body to be healthy, and your lymphatic system is backed up with the circulatory system. So it's going, whoa. I will take some of that and absorb it, but I have to keep up with the circulatory system, because if we get that system out of whack, then we're not going to be in a good place at all. And so all of these medications, it's little bits absorbing. So a lot of people will come to me thinking they're healthy because they take all these things and they drink so much water, but their skin is so dry that I have to use like a whole bottle of oil on them. And it's like, no, you're actually not hydrated, even though you've been doing it all day. So once I flush that lymphatic system for them, then anything they take in between is going to allow their body to absorb it and actually be healthy. So it's just such an important system for everything. It also helps transport the fats out of our digestive system. So a lot of people's stomachs will stop working. Crohn's disease is linked to an unhealthy lymphatic system. And in fact, a couple of clients I've had through the years that have tried everything, once they were on a regular pattern of getting their lymphatic system flushed, they actually went into remission. And so there's so many testimonies I have too of people who's, once we started regularly flushing their lymphatic system with the deep tissue. So that's another thing, sometimes you go for a lymphatic massage and it's just a very light movement of the fluid, which is good. It's going to help move the fluid. But my job is to fix the blockages that cause the fluid to back up in the first place so that you're not just relying on me to be your lymphatic system. I get it working so that in between massages, it can do what it needs to do, on its own. And so I just wanted to come on here today and start talking about this because I feel like we're in such a place where our health is just falling and more people are getting autoimmune diseases, more and more people are getting cancer. And it's like, if you keep that system, it is our filtration system of the body, is the garbage disposal of our body. It doesn't matter, what we can't prevent, the toxins that are in our food or in our water and our environment. But if you can at least keep that flushed, then it can help your body fight those things even more. So you don't have to end up with those diseases in the end.
Awesome. So Carol, I don't know how your first massage with her was, but she was already full and your schedule is still full. So this is not an endorsement for you to build business. This is to teach people that there are things in addition to what the doctors tell you to do that can actually help what they're telling you to do, right? We're optimizing the body's immune system. So I went to her, and my body's always a wreck. I've had two hip replacements and 2 knee replacements, and she got me in. A friend of a friend referred me, and she just started feeling around, and she's like, basically, oh boy. And she goes, you got to trust me here, okay? I know you're used to, you got a back problem. We're going to hit the back. She goes, but I'm going to start at your feet. And you need to trust me on this. I said, okay, I'll trust you. Number one, the deep tissue, like the word deep, like that's your picture in the dictionary. Okay. I've had big muscular guys give me deep tissue and I like dig in and get this stuff out of me that they weren't like her. I sent her a picture of one of my bruises and she's like, are you okay? Did you have to go to the hospital? Are you peeing blood? She's busting my stones about it, but man, got me feeling good. Broke up the scar tissue around all my surgeries and stuff like that. So, I'm one walking testimonial for you. So, and for all you people watching this, I don't see Nikki too much anymore because what she's doing with the lymphatic system is so key in healing. And she has a lot of people who have had a lot of severe health problems. And I don't want to take up her time to work on my old tight muscle body when she could be helping others. And then that's where Carol comes in today. Carol, tell us your story and how you got to Nikki.
I've had cancer 3 times now. And what really brought me into Nikki was I ended up having a stroke over 2 years ago. And I just couldn't deal with everything. And my friend said, you need a deep tissue massage. And I'm looking at her like, no, I've had massages and that's not going to do anything. So I have to be honest with you. At first, I was just like, it's not going to help. Well, then my friend was like, no, you really do. So every time I'd see my friend, she'd be like, you call Nikki yet? And she would see that I was getting worse and worse and losing weight, which I thought was great, but I wasn't losing it the right way or the good way. So I said, yep, I called Nikki. So gave her a call. And I was little at first. I was like, I don't know. And it's not a vacation massage, and I was warned about that. But after the first time of going in there, yes, it hurt. And yes, there were a couple ooh and ows that probably everyone heard. But leaving there, it was a good hurt. And within the next day, couple bruises, but I felt so much better already. And that was just within one day. And she got everything moving through. So I was like, when can I come in again? And she's like, well, we need to put you on a pattern. Now, 2 years ago, I would have never thought of going on vacation. Everything was messed up in my body. And I even had to schedule, like if I knew I had an appointment at noon, I couldn't eat or drink anything because it would go right through. After going to Nikki for probably, I don't know, I've been going to her almost 2 years now, but after a year, I was so comfortable. I'm scheduling vacations like 3 months out now. I'm not worried about how I'm going to feel the week before. And that has been my best medication. And I also feel that the medication they put me on after the stroke finally was able to take effect and work through my body because of the deep tissue. And the reason why I wanted to talk today is just to let people know that the deep tissue is something, it's not a light massage. And yes, I've had lymph nodes removed, and we've been working on that area to get everything moving. And it just makes a world of difference in how you feel and you want to face the world, And then, of course, sometimes I'll now feel so good that I overdo it a little bit. But that's a good feeling. And I'm very grateful that my friend pushed me to go in and see Nikki. And I just appreciate what Nikki is doing. And I wish more people were out there as deep tissue massage therapists so that more people could be helped.
And this is our mission, right, Nikki? And thank you for sharing the story, Carol. The mission isn't to bring you more business. The mission is to educate people and start to teach massage therapists how to do these techniques.
And not just deep tissue, but the lymphatic part of it, the deep lymphatic systematic massage, basically. So.
Awesome. I know, Carol, you have a zest for life because you pulled up in a sports car today and you got a Harley and stuff like that. So with all the things that have happened to you with your health, it does change your outlook, yes, about the minutes of life, correct?
Absolutely. I did, after I had the double mastectomy and all that, I did go for, I guess the proper word is lymphatic tissue therapy, and it didn't do anything for me. Maybe I felt good for till that night or the next morning, but it just didn't stay with me. So I did try that route.
So let me ask you this, through all these health things, right? So you said you've had cancer 3 times and a mastectomy. What is Carol telling Carol? How do you keep your positive attitude? How do you keep pushing forward and not get caught up in the poor me stuff?
I'm the lucky one that is sitting across from you, being able to tell you my story. And if we had more people out there who were experienced like Nikki or wanted to get into the field, and if we had more deep tissue therapists out there, or even if we had people that weren't afraid, and I'll admit, I was a little afraid at first to go see Nikki. But once I did, it's the best thing I ever did. So I want to keep sharing my story.
Awesome. So we're going to take a little spin somewhere else. You, my friend, are very spiritual, and we've had many long conversations. Your belief in Jesus is strong.
Yes.
And you feel the presence of God and Jesus.
Absolutely.
And you don't push it on anybody, okay? I have become skeptical across the years because I have an engineering scientific mind, and engineering and science do not, they don't really overlap faith. Faith is almost something that doesn't make sense. There's no evidence. Faith is something you choose to be a truth without proof per se. So I got caught up in that. Not an atheist or anything, but just skeptical about what is the truth out there. There is a creator. And then a series of things happened with me after Dorothy died, and they all lined up. There was like 6 things that lined up. You were one of them. And you came, you were the first one. I went through this horrendous thing with Dorothy on the airplane. She died on the airplane as we were touching down. It was that was like a race the whole time. I'm on the phone, just all the stuff that I had to do in these hours was crazy. So when I got home, I called Nikki and I said, here's what happened. I could probably use a deep tissue right now more than ever because I'm sure my body's a wreck. And you got me in, and I'll never forget this. You were like, I was face down, and you're like, all right, you first. That's what you said. And I went into the whole story in great detail. And I was telling her about all these people who were part of this story of being on an airplane for 4 hours, and then all the stuff that happened afterwards. It was like paramedics and ambulance and police officers and all of this stuff. It gave me actually hope for humanity. And I made a video on it. So now I'm telling her this story, and I finished telling her story. And you said to me, I know where you stand with your faith, and it's okay. She goes, whether you believe or not, it doesn't matter. You have a purpose, and you're living your purpose right now. I get teary-eyed. And you said, could I pray with you? You put your hands on my head, and you prayed with me. And my body was it was almost shuddering. Something was happening through your prayer and your hands. And that is part of what you do. Your spirit is also coming through your hands. It's not just, Nikki knows about the lymphatic system and how to do deep tissue. It's care. It's like love and caring comes through your hands too. And I just wanted to call you out on that. So you were the first one in this series of things that started happening to me. The very same thing happened to me the day after at a grocery store. I met one of my previous clients who's very spiritual like you, and she didn't know anything that happened. And I told her what happened, and she's like, can I pray with you? We're in the entranceway of an Aldi food store, and where the doors open automatically. And just like you, she put her hands on my head, and we started praying right there. And like I said, something was happening. And now my science and engineering mind is like, all right, these things are lining up. There's a pattern here. Something's going on, right? So I was using that engineering mind to go, hey, you're gathering data here. The universe is telling you something right now, because this stuff doesn't line up by accident. And then a bunch of other stuff happened in the days following, but you started it all. And the funniest thing was, when you were praying, you said something to the effect like the little boy trying to win everybody's approval. And when you said that, or you didn't say it in the prayer, you said it while we were talking. And I said, you're an asshole. You go, why? I said, because you've tapped into something that I've known people my whole life, and they didn't know that I am that little boy trying to win approval, because I did that with my mother. I just, wanted to say that it's not only Nikki, the technician, and about the science. It's Nikki, you have something's happening divine with you, in my belief.
Yeah, and definitely it is pouring out through God. He is in the story with this, because back in the podcast before, I had talked about how the thing that got me here was my body shutting down and different autoimmune diseases being popped up, and nobody was able to help me. I was becoming disabled at 25 years old, and I ended up going to church and getting baptized at 27 and, starting this trajectory of he saved me out of getting disabled to healthcare. And then I was able to heal my body through massage. And so now it's like my life's mission to help other people, because it's not just that I am a massage therapist telling you this is what you need to do. I rely on weekly massages to survive. I wouldn't be able to work on anybody, or be sitting here as well. And so it is definitely me working with God, because sometimes when you have a mission, you have to go through the storm first before you can actually help other people.
And I know Carol knows this, but most people don't. When you're an intense massage therapist, you beat the hell out of your body.
Yes.
You're like an athlete, and you are an athlete. You're strong, and you do all these fitness things all the time. You're insane. And if you don't get your body worked on, then you're not effective either. Yeah. So
Yeah, and that's why whenever someone tells me a compliment like this was a really good massage or anything like that, I always say thank you. I take that in all humbleness because it makes all the pain that I've had to have to get here worth it. Because if, even though this job does hurt my body too, but I'm grateful to have massage, to see other people get better, it's why I never gave up, and it's why I didn't go into anything else. And so that's why I want to spread the mission of this, because there are a lot of really good massage therapists out there, but we're not treated very well. You go to work for somewhere and they take 50, 60% of your pay when it is all physical labor. And so it's a very hard job to maintain and stay, even though you see the good side of it, because you have to pay your bills at the end of the day. So I'm hoping to really open up this lymphatic massage world so that more massage therapists can make a career out of this and help more people in the end.
You have a very interesting story. Her name is Laura, correct?
Yes,
Tell us a little bit about Laura.
I took her on about 8 years ago, and she has cancer throughout her body. It started with breast cancer 20 years ago, was told, after they removed the breast and did the mastectomy that it wasn't going to come back. And so for 10 years, it went unmonitored. And then she started to have some severe back pain, went to her oncologist. Oncologist said that, it can't come back, you're okay. And she went on with this back pain and finally got to a chiropractor who said, something's not right, you need an MRI. And so the oncologist wouldn't order the MRI, so the chiropractor actually did. And so when they read the MRI, come to find out she's got cancer now all over, in her lower and upper intestines, her lungs, her spine with an active tumor, told she had 2 months to live. This was 10 years ago. And so they had to put rods in to replace where the tumor had destroyed the spine. There was actually no spinal fluid. They didn't even know how she was walking. And so she ended up going to a different hospital because this one had already done what they had done. And they said, nobody's going to tell you have 2 months to live and not be good, but we have to put the rods in. We'll start you on a medication and see what sticks. And so she started the medication, and then she ended up in a route where she was seeing my old supervisor, Edwards, and he was an amazing massage therapist. So he was working on her back and helping her out, and then he decided he wanted to retire, and it came to where Laura was going to go. And so I had already been on my own. He reached out and asked if I would take her, and I said yes. And so that's the start of me and her. And I started incorporating all parts of her body, flushing out her lymphatic system. She was seeing me weekly. And 6 or 7 years ago, she ran into a hard spot because her insurance wanted to stop covering her MRIs, which was showing if she was getting it every 4 months to see if the cancer was spreading. Because at stage 4, you're not going to get better. She just had somehow got the cancer to stop spreading at that point, and she was considered stable. And so because she was considered stable, they didn't want to cover them anymore. But she's like, that's how I tell if I need to change treatment or do whatever. And so her doctor helped her out and said, we'll at least order PET scans every 4 months, and then that will show. It doesn't show as much as the MRI, but it will at least show. And so here we are. I've been working on Laura. She goes on ski trips, and we've told everybody the longevity of her life is the flushing of the lymphatic system. The other treatment, she was getting a hormone blocking infusion every 4 weeks. That was helping her too. And the injections were so painful, the nurse's hands would cramp up. And we had to always fight the scar tissue from that, because anything that pulls on the rods is going to be super painful, because it's not like an average spine that can withstand and bend and whatever. And so recently, we went through a thing where Laura had found out that the cancer had spread. It's now in her liver, and she's now not considered stable. And so we prayed and we did all that we could. And so the thing that came from it is that she now needed an MRI because she's not considered stable. So she went in for that MRI. And although the cancer had spread to the liver, it's at proximity to this point to all the other organs. But what the outstanding thing of this MRI proves is that, in contrast to the one 7 years ago that showed cancer through her lymphatic system and in the nodes, it had been cleared out of the lymphatic system. So this theory we had that us flushing it every week stopped the spread is now in an MRI showing that her hematologist and oncologist have confirmed. And from what I know, and I could be corrected on this, how metastatic cancer spreads is you may have too many cells in your breast, and your lymphatic system will take those cells to your intestines because you need more cells in your intestines. And so now you have breast cancer of your intestines. And that's how Laura's cancer spread. So all the cancer throughout her body is actually breast cancer. And so the fact that we flush the lymphatic system out stopped that cancer from spreading at that point. And so then the second part of this testimony, which is going to be huge for also, Western medicine and medication, Laura was getting weekly. So the next thing, they can't do the infusions anymore. They're going to start an oral pill, because they also said anytime you've been taking a medicine that long, normally your body gets used to it. You don't take it. So let's just change up the medication. So it's going to be an oral pill that she gets to take. And it's a very expensive pill. Had to wait for a third party to get confirmed with it. And so I was leaving for Florida, and I couldn't get her in the week before I left. I was going to be gone for a week. And she started taking the medication right before I left. And so by the time I came back, we were almost at 3 weeks for her to be getting her appointment. And I asked how she was doing. And she's like, Nikki, I'm actually not doing good. I'm as green as my shirt right now. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, ever since I started taking this medication 2 weeks ago, I've been vomiting every day with severe migraines. I think I'm going to have to stop. And I'm like, whoa. This is going to help you. I don't think we would have gotten this far if you're going to have to stop taking this medication. You do realize I have not worked on your lymph since you started taking this medication. And she had to stop and think about it, because we don't normally go this long. And so we come in, and she's got a robe hanging up in case she's going to have to get up and throw up. And as I start working through her body, the nausea starts going away. And by the time we got finished with the massage, the nausea went away and the vomiting stopped and the migraine stopped. And the only reason I'm telling this part of the story too is this: how many people have a backed up lymphatic system and go to take a medication that they need, and the medication can't absorb because the lymphatic system's backed up, so it makes them sick and the body wants it expelled out. So not only is this key in taking in vitamins and nutrients, but it's also from people's medications as well. And so this whole story of everything, of just flushing it out, it is just your body's way to ultimately create a homeostasis that it can survive in and start healing itself. And so this is over the board for all medical fields.
That's awesome. And for everybody out there, we're not saying don't take medications. We're saying that the massage actually helps the medications work better. Yes. So we just want to be clear on that. Anything else, my friends?
I really just wanted to talk about how important the system is, because there's so many people sick right now. I see more and more people coming up with autoimmune diseases, more and more people coming up with cancer. And it's like, for Laura, who was stage 4, who wasn't going to get better, but at least the longevity of life till now, 10 years since she was told she had 2 months. Imagine someone with stage 1 or stage 3 cancer who starts deep systematic lymphatic system, even through treatment, because it can help flush that chemo and flush the dead cells out so they can recover better. But then on top of that, if they start this treatment, then it could possibly, hopefully in like Laura's case, stop it from coming back again, because the lymphatic system is clear.
Awesome. And Carol, I want to circle back with you one more time. You've had many health hurdles.
Yes.
And so back to the question I asked you before, what keeps you positive? Like, how do you keep a positive outlook in life? What are the things you're telling yourself to keep going and not get too caught up in,
Well, probably my faith is the first thing. And the second thing is things like this, where, you kind of wonder, am I ever going to feel better? And then I was on 3 medications after the stroke, and I would go in for checkups, and my blood pressure would still be high and the cholesterol would still be high. Well, then ever since I started going to Nikki, they're like, wow, we can almost take you off of this. And again, Nikki explained to me, it's because now it has an opportunity to clearly go through my body and do what it's made to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm very grateful.
Awesome. And what about your perception of, time, how much time we have in our lives? Did that change?
I never take a day for granted. As unfortunately, we don't know this afternoon, tomorrow, we don't know what the day brings. But if we can bring happiness to someone else or all work together, then that's what I just see so many people working together. And it's what makes the world go round. Doesn't matter what you do for a living, just share a smile. As easy as that.
I call it kindness. And
yes.
We're all working to bring up the level of kindness to each other. And you and I are going to do a podcast about veterans, and that's going to be amazing. That's one of your motivators too.
Yes,
so
it is.
I can't wait for that.
And I also want to throw in too, I get permission from all my clients to tell their testimonies. There's, if I would never talk about it, Laura's okay with me talking about it. Carol's obviously here talking about it. So I just want that to be clear too.
Yeah, of course. All right, my friends. Well, thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us on the podcast today. You guys are both doing amazing work. Carol, we're going to get to yours on the next podcast. Nikki, I'm grateful life brought us together. You've done more than just work on the body. You got me turned back the other direction. I read a quote somewhere. It says, no matter how many steps you take away from God, when you turn around, he's right there. So,
And it's
Very
also, I've told a lot of people that just because you don't believe in him doesn't mean he doesn't believe.
right. And that was powerful
True.
when you told me that. It doesn't matter whether you or not, you're on, he has a purpose for you and you're living that purpose right now. So, and that keeps me motivated. So
That means more than actually the body work.
yeah,
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you. I'm grateful for both of you.
Thank you, Carol. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Warrior Podcast. I didn't mean to get all mushy on you, but that's how it goes. We'll see you on our next podcast. And remember, everyone, there is a warrior inside us all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.